Hi, this is Beakley from 84 Faces. You're now listening to SpeakerBox X, featuring news hip-hop aside. Your host, V-Riv.
Linked together by mutual agreement and telephone log lines.
This is KTDT Tucson. You're listening to 99.1 FM, Downtown Radio, the antidote to corporate radio. You're now tuning into SpeakerBox X, Subterranean Hip Hop in Effect with your host, V-Riv. And we have a very special guest in the house, and he goes by Desvelada. How are you doing, Desvelada?
Thank you for having me again.
Yeah. Go ahead and speak. Go ahead and say that one more time.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me again.
Yes,
it's an honor.
Perfect. Be that close to the mic because that sounds perfect.
Gotcha.
Cool. All right, sweet. So what's the meaning behind the name you gave your album, Rosamorada? That's a really dope album. Call it an album, but what's the meaning behind that?
It's actually the name of the street. It's a little south of the district that I work in, and I'd see it come up sometimes. I was like, that's a really pretty name. I think I'm gonna hold on to that. And then from there, it just kind of evolved. Like I can probably make some really nice looking art with this. And I got in contact with a artist in Tucson by the name of Jenny Lizarraga. And I'll get her Instagram later. I'd definitely like to plug her art because she's extremely talented. And we talked shop a little bit, and she did the art, and it came out really nice. I'm really appreciative of that.
Oh yeah, for sure. So why the rose? Like, what made you want to? Just because of the name of the album, is that what made you want to do the rose as a cover for the album?
Yeah, that was the initial idea. I think that there's an interesting contrast with the rose. There's the it's symbolic of beauty, and yet it has a thorn, so it has a little bit of a dangerous, aggressive element to it. So I like the idea of contrast like that. I think that I do that a lot with my music. You'll get some of the delicate sounds intertwined with more aggressive sounds, and I like that. Pulling that off. It worked, I think.
It worked really well. Yeah, like I like the fact that you have like this industrial, sound, kind of goth, experimental, but then it has a hip hop. You did a lot of you changed a lot, which is dope. Like I like seeing an artist change, like go through some changes, and you definitely showcase that with this album. I really enjoyed it. The only thing I would say is I wish they were longer. I wish your tracks were a bit longer. I felt like, you cut them a little short. Why is that?
I felt the same way. I think that Rosamorada 1 is kind of the sum of my musical experience. I am, if I haven't already nailed my signature sound, I'm getting closer to it. And this was kind of the debut of that. You know, everything that I've worked, every track is kind of somehow weaved into there. I think that it was kind of a test, you know, just to see if it would work. And knowing that it sounds the way it does, you know, flawed, but it works. I think I can push that now, and that's what I'm planning on the second release, which will either come out late September or perhaps November. I'm still getting tracks together, but I definitely have some cool stuff planned for that.
Dope, awesome. So where were you born and raised?
I was born in Nogales, Arizona, and I was raised in Tubac, Arizona. I was raised in a forest close to a river in the desert, you know, and I think that sort of environment kind of resonates with me more so than in a city. You know, I feel at home here, and I think I try to convey that sort of environment in my music as best as I can. You know.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we're gonna go and take a musical break. I'm gonna go ahead and play the track called Sleepless. And this is off Desvelada's brand new speaking album called Rosamorada. You're listening to 99.1 FM, Downtown Radio, the Antidotes Corporate Radio. You're now tuned into SpeakerBox X, Subterranean Hip Hop in Effect with your host V-Riv. And we have a very special guest. He goes by Desvelada, and we just listened to his track called Sleepless off his brand new spanking album called Rosamorada. And we've been chopping it up. And we talked about the meaning behind his album. And we also talked about where he was born and raised. And we're going to go ahead and keep on chopping it up. We're going to go ahead and dive into the mind of Desvelada. And we're going to go ahead and ask him what inspired the creation of Sleepless. Like, that's such a good track. I couldn't get enough of that track.
That was one of 3 tracks that I had with a specific person in mind. That one I worked mostly during the night. I think it served kind of as a distraction to tire my mind out with something productive other than just, staying awake and looking at a screen. I think that's kind of a waste. So I like staying busy, and that was the product of that. I think I got the foundation in one night, and from that point on, it was just tweaking and throwing in vocals and seeing what I could do with that. The first draft was kind of choppy, but it really laid a good foundation, I think. And draft after draft after draft after draft, what you hear on Spotify, that's the final product, and I'm happy with that one.
No, I love it. I love the vocals. Like you did like all this, like, I don't know, the vocals sound amazing on it. Like I just like the work that you put in for the vocals, because I know that must have not been so easy to do. You know what I mean? The vocal part of it. Like it sounds like it sounds like you're in the room, but you're not really in the room. Like you're far away. It has like that. I don't know, not echoey. I don't want to say echoey effect, but just has like that. I don't know how to explain it, but it doesn't sound like. Yeah, like spatial, I guess. Like, yeah, like everywhere. Like, yeah. So I definitely enjoyed that. That was definitely awesome. Oh yeah, I also want to ask you, what's your opinion on the state of hip hop? Do you think we're going through a revival or no? What's your opinion?
I think that it's an interesting time for creatives altogether, given the pandemic and the dissonance in the world. I think that it provides for creative folks a lot of opportunities to channel their frustration or sadness or general negativity into something productive, and that's what I would wish for everyone. Not to stay mired in that sort of negative space. Instead, take it upon themselves to channel that energy into something bigger, something greater. I think that it's imperative for people, especially now, to find something to look forward to, and I think being creative helps facilitate that.
No, for sure, for sure. Would you like to share something personal or an experience that you had that not a lot of people know about, like in creating this album or even just in life in general?
I think that with regards to the album, my favorite track being between Luz de mi luna and Te gusta sufrir. I kind of identified, so I kind of knew this all along, but I kind of cemented the idea that my writing style takes a different approach when I'm writing in Spanish versus writing in English. I think I find myself more hopeful and optimistic, and I have a tendency to focus on the beautiful more in Spanish. And English is a language that I argue in, so that's where you'll hear me screaming and all that. So I like that contrast as well. I think that in the second album I'll be doing more of that.
Oh, nice. Okay, the aggressive side of Desvelada.
The contrast,
Dope. That's awesome. What can we do, like as creatives and artists? What can we do to make this world a better place, in your opinion?
Network, and look after each other. 100% hands down. Just keep talking to each other. Keep looking for people to work with. I'm blessed to be communicating with the people that I am right now, and it just feels good, being able to send a message like, "Hey, I have this thing I'm doing. Do you want to be on this album?" Like, it's good. It's encouraging. It motivates me, and again, it keeps me looking forward to something, and that's critical. That's the most important thing, I think.
No, for sure. Let's go ahead and take a musical break. I'm gonna go ahead and play the track called "Luz de mi luna" by Desvelada. This is off his brand new spanking album called Rosamorada. Let's go ahead and give it a listen. You're listening to 99.1 FM, Downtown Radio, the antidote to corporate radio. You're now tuning into SpeakerBox X, subterranean hip hop in effect with your host V-Riv. And we just played a dope track called Luz de mi Luna by Desvelada off his Rosamorada album. And we've been chopping it up. And he just gave his opinion on how we can make this world better. It's by networking, it's by connecting, and it's by, you know, fusing different worlds together. Because I feel like we all have our strengths and weaknesses, and we can all work and, you know, and basically helping each other out with that. So let's go ahead and continue to dive into Desvelada's mind. So what inspired you to create the track called Luz de mi Luna?
That's the second of 3 tracks that I had with a specific person in mind. That was another one that I worked on mostly at night. And when I started tracking the vocals, I think I derived a lot of influence by a composer by the name of Eric Whitacre, who does a lot of interesting work with chordal clusters. There's a chord named after him, the Whitacre chord, and it's this beautiful dissonance. The way the notes clash and then release, and I think I try to do that on Luz on a very small scale. But knowing that I could pull it off there, you know, that's encouraging, and I think I'm going to be, you know, dabbling with that a little bit more in the future. Eric Whitacre, for sure. He's amazing.
Wow. Okay, cool. Now I'm gonna have to check him out because I didn't even know about him, so that's dope. That's what I love about networking and talking. You get to learn new things all the time. That's what's all about. What are your future plans? Are you working on a new project?
Right now I'm getting tracks together for Rosamorada 2, and then after that, I think I might just do a whole 180 and focus on more of the aggressive, dark elements of Desvelada, more witch house influenced music. I might throw a couple of tracks with that sort of influence in mind, kind of like with Sleepless, you know. I might throw that with Rosamorada 2, even though it's majorly going to stick to that sort of lullaby-esque vibe.
Nice, awesome. So who are the artists that are influencing you now, and why?
I've been listening to Toby Lou a lot. I like his vibe. I think he's genuine. 9 Inch Nails, always, you know, that's always where I go back to just to get inspired. I think that there's you know, that touches on that industrial influence more than any other artist, I think. And I've just kind of been jumping around, you know, on Spotify a lot. Night Lavelle has been a big influence. Just that vibe is uncanny. Crystal Castles for sure. You know, I always go back to that. Yeah, just a weird mix, you know. And I'll throw in some acoustic music just to kind of study. You know, I don't consider myself a guitarist. I lack the time and effort that I think it takes to call oneself a guitarist. But I like to study the music and see what I can learn and pull and kind of adapt from there.
Awesome. All right, let's go ahead and take a musical break. I'm going to go ahead and play the track called Be Anything by Desvelada, and this is off his brand new album called Rosamorada. You're listening to 99.1 FM Downtown Radio, the antidote to corporate radio. You're now tuning into SpeakerBox X, Subterranean Hip Hop in Effect, with your host V-Riv. And we just played the track called Be Anything by Desvelada, and it's off his brand new album called Rosamorada. And we've been chopping it up. We just talked about who are his major musical influences right now. And we're gonna go ahead and keep on chopping it up. What books, TV shows, movies have you been watching and or reading during quarantine?
I just started watching Berserk again. It's a really good series. It's a lot of blood and guts. Very good story. It's all about the story, you know.
Yeah, it's always about the story.
Then I've been reading a lot of technical text, just for work, brushing up on that. I've been enjoying the poetic work of R.H. Sin. Highly recommend as well. That's just heart-wrenching. That's about it. I try to stay busy so I don't give myself a whole lot of time. Been kind of scouring Netflix for any good horror movies, and I've seen them all, and everything else is just kind of background noise, pretty much.
Yeah, Dark Mirror, right? Is it Dark Mirror? I think that's what it's called on Netflix.
Black Mirror.
Black Mirror. That's
not
dope.
bad. I think it's an interesting take on what could happen in the future. It reminds me of Twilight Zone a little bit, and me and my pops really like Twilight Zone.
No, it's dope.
It's like the modern day Twilight Zone.
Yeah, well, it's dystopia, but it's so like it feels like it can be during this lifetime. You know what I mean? Which is pretty creepy, which makes it even more of like a horror-esque vibe. You know what I mean?
So it's so close to reality. Yeah.
Right.
Spooky.
Yeah, for sure. It is. So what's your okay, this is like a question I like to ask every artist that comes on. What's your all-time favorite dish or food and why?
It's a good one.
Yeah, because it kind of tells you about your person character, like what kind of food they like. It's kind of like gives you an insight.
I think sandwiches can save the world.
Oh, okay.
Sandwiches. Well, different types of sandwiches. What do I think is my ideal sandwich? That's a good question. I don't know. Lightly toasted sourdough bread, spicy mustard, regular assortment of vegetables. I don't know, some form of protein, and then I don't know. I'm on a quest to discover the perfect sandwich. I'm gonna figure it out one day. I'm gonna write a book.
For sure. That would be pretty awesome. You get to taste a variety of flavors and just a variety of cultures too, because every culture has a different way of making the sandwiches. So that's pretty dope. So we're almost at the tail end of our show. How can the listeners support you and your art? How can they go about that?
Just check out the album on Spotify. You can follow me on Instagram. It's Rave Desvelada. And I don't really ask much of people besides if they feel it, keep listening, stay in tune. I'll be dropping more stuff soon. That's really it. I don't really it's weird, I don't really consider having an audience much, but it's nice when people say, hey, I checked out the music, I really I feel something, it means something to me, and that feels really good. Usually I just think I'm gonna do this for me. I'm gonna get what I need to get out, and it's gonna be here. It's gonna be encapsulated in this music. And if anyone feels anything when they listen to it, good. I hope it helps.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. I was also going to ask you. You're part of the Sonoran Beat Collective, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So I know you dropped some projects with them. So how is that? How is it working with like different types of producers and whatnot to create like this dope? You guys are phenomenal. I'm just so proud of Tucson. I'm just so proud of, just like all the music coming out of here is just like amazing, from Arizona. So I'm like, so how does that work? How does that?
It's an amazing experience, just being part of that. I think that it kind of motivates us all, within the city. And if we ever get anyone from out of the city, it just brings them into the fold. It's all about, like you said earlier, just networking. building that community. And I'm very fortunate that everyone in that collective has a genuine approach. That's, if it doesn't have heart, it doesn't matter. And I think that everyone there has a lot of heart, and it shows in the music.
No, for sure, for sure. So we're almost at the tail end of our show, but I also want to ask you the track called "Ahead of Myself." So what's the backdrop story to "Ahead of Myself"?
You have centered on all three of the songs that I have written with a specific someone in mind.
I guess I really enjoy that collaborative work is just phenomenal. I think that says something. You know what I mean? You should definitely collaborate more with that individual for sure. Because
it wasn't so much a collaboration. It was, well, maybe we'll collaborate one day, but I kind of had her in mind. I had the inclination to make the 2 acoustic songs at the end of that album, into like a full mix with percussion and stuff. But I kind of like them the way they are. I think they just might live like that. I think they sound the way they're supposed to, and they exist the way that they should.
Okay. So what were you trying to communicate with "Ahead of Myself"? What was the underlying, what were you trying to have the listener understand from that song "Ahead of Myself"?
I think that was a kind of reflection and how I think that, sometimes I feel too hard for a person or, a thing. I get carried away with an emotion. And I think that it's important to ask yourself, whether or not what you're doing is good or right, or, it's a process of self-evaluation. If you doubt yourself, I think you keep asking yourself, is this going to be okay? And in the end of it all, I think that's what the song is. It's just being caught in this tumultuous emotional experience where you don't exactly know where it's going to go, but you're caught up in it and you're grateful to have the experience.
Yeah, you're gonna enjoy the ride as long as you can, pretty much. Yeah,
absolutely.
Hey, they call, there's a reason why they have roller coaster rides and why we call our emotions. They go, they're roller coastering when we're, into somebody, because we go through all these different emotions when we're into somebody.
That's life, It's just a ride. It's just a ride.
Oh yeah. So I like the way you conveyed that. That's awesome. It's amazing. So
you.
what are your, no problem. What are your words of wisdom, especially with what's going on right now? What are your words of wisdom as an artist for somebody who wants to do what you do, or just in life? What are things that you had to come across and that you had to basically take upon yourself to just do what you have to do to get through it?
I think that there's a lot of fear in the world right now, and you kind of have to think about how you approach that. I've learned that when you come across fearful situations, you can think of it as an opportunity to demonstrate strength and courage. I think we need more of that. I think that we need to stay honest. I think that we need to keep looking out for each other. And I think we need to focus more on the heart than the mind. And I have no doubt that we'll get through this together. And I just hope it happens sooner rather than later. But we'll get through it together.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's kind of gut-wrenching because just there's a lot of things that I never thought I would see in my lifetime happening. I just can't believe the amount of just craziness in terms of we always knew that there was issues with education. We always knew there was issues with health, and just getting all that. But it went to now it's now there's different levels to this. I'm like, whoa, what? How did that happen? You know what I mean? Because I feel now it's more in your face about how Hollywood is known for what Hollywood has a lot of weird stuff going on, just with the whole pedophilia thing. I don't know if you heard about it, but it's rampant, and the fact that they're not being held, I feel there's a lot of individuals not being held accountable And somehow this is also connected with our politicians. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, how do we get to this, you know what I mean? To this level of like insanity, you know? And I feel like
over time and not holding people accountable, just people slipping through the cracks that shouldn't have. You know, it's sad to see that justice has failed us in so many ways. And I think about it, and it's difficult because I'm just one person, you know. So what can I do to better the societal evils, you know, of the nation and the world? There's not a whole lot I can do, so I focus on what I can. I make sure that my family's good. I take care of the people in my community that I care about, and go from there. You know, it's easy to get overwhelmed, but do what you can.
Yeah, for sure. And I like what you said, community. I feel like that should be the main focus of everybody. Like their community should be like their main focus.
It
Now, if
has
they
to
can
be.
get a hold of, yeah, it has to be. In order to get, that's like the foundation, I feel like, of everything, really. It's the community. So if you can get a hold of that and then, you know, be able to bond and be able to make something good out of something bad, then you're onto something. Because I think that if everybody played their part, I think the world would be much better. Just like, I feel like those things, they might seem like very little, but they mean so much in the bigger scheme of things, you know? So I definitely agree with you on that. All right, Desvelada, it's been awesome talking to you. I know we kind of went in on a tangent,
Oh,
but
no,
I
I
felt
enjoy the tangents.
yeah, but I definitely, you know, felt comfortable to talk to you about that because I feel like you're well aware of what's going on in this crazy world. And so make sure to follow Desvelada. He has a brand new spanking album called Rosamorada. And it's been awesome chopping up with you. I hope to have you again on, you know, when you have your other album out, The Contrast. I definitely want to have you back on. It's always a joy and a pleasure to have you on. Yeah, it's always, yeah, I enjoy your music. I just wish you would, you know, I wish you lived in Tucson, man. I know you're from Tucson. I know you were for a minute, but then you had to go back, which for obvious reasons. But yeah, I hope.
I enjoy interfacing with the city, and I look forward to being there more often. And, you know, likewise, it's always good chopping it up with you, and I look forward to talking to you again.
Yeah, sure. All right. So, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and this has been an awesome discussion. And until next time, keep your head up.
You know,
Thank you. All right.